Oh, hello. I thought it was due for another video because last time I did one, it was about when the riots were going on. So everything's okay. They arrested like, I don't know, 2,000 people or something. And, you know, everything's going to be good. It's fine. I actually buggered off to Scotland like the day or something after I did that video, so it was okay. So I'm just sitting here. We fly out to Spain tomorrow. Basically flying into Santander, spending the night, and then getting a bus for like 2 hours to Bilbao, where the fiesta is every year. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Bilbao. No, Friday, Saturday in Bilbao. And then we're making our way to, I think, San Sebastian. Then Barcelona. And then heading off somewhere else. Might be Barcelona, then San Sebastian. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we're going to this place where apparently you can just like walk across the border into France. So that's going to be pretty cool. So we'll do that, and then we're going to basically chateau hop and wine toast our way all the way to Paris. We'll spend a couple of days in Paris before hopping back to London in time for the bank holiday and the Notting Hill Carnival. If it goes ahead, they're still talking about whether or not they're going to cancel it, blah, blah, blah. And then I've got basically the rest of that week, and then I come home, I fly out on the Saturday. So coming up to the end. Well, we're probably about halfway through, so yeah. Anyway, I wanted to share with you some UK observations. Things that I've noticed over here. Not necessarily interesting, but just things that I had to make mental notes of. So like when I go home, we're like, oh, in the UK they do this, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone will think I'm a whinging pom, but that's okay. Okay, number one, UK loves dogs. Seriously, like cafes, in the pubs, public transport, like flat out, even on like the buses and stuff. Some attractions even, like they're just like, yeah, just take your dog in, and like the dogs are just all like chilled out, like, you know, oh yeah, cool. Like I thought Ocean Grove was pretty relaxed with its whole having dogs around policy, but seriously, it's amazing. It's actually quite refreshing, because I mean it's nice to see dogs like on the trains and stuff, especially like there was this little cute one the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm on the phone to Vaughn and I'm like patting it, and I'm like, oh, made me miss Diesel a little bit, but I'm like, you know, the dogs get a good deal here, totally, and like they have these massive parks that they can go and run around in, which is really good. So yeah, I just, like I said, just had to make that observation. Number two, public transport master. It's actually pointing to me. I am the public transport master. I've gotten the tube down pat. Gotten most of like the National Rail, which is like the stuff that you take like out of London when I was doing on my day trips, which I finished, by the way. Finished that up with Oxford on Monday, which was pretty. It's nice there. It's nice. I think I'd like to go back when it's maybe not so busy, maybe just after summer, just so I can battle the crowds a bit more. Yeah, like I said, got the tube down pat, got National Rail fairly much under control, like overland. Next challenge was the buses, and I have to say I was a bit nervous about the bus system, because I was just afraid I would end up somewhere completely random have no idea where I was. Not have my London A to Z on me, which by the way is like my Bible. If you ever come to London, one of the first things you have to do is get your hands on one. They're really cheap. Like, I got the mini version for like £5. Invaluable. Really, really invaluable. Basically, yeah, like started catching the buses on a fairly regular basis. Only the other day, like 2 weeks in. And just totally owned it. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. And I love riding the buses because they're double deckers and you can sit up the top and you're all like, ooh. It does freak me out a bit though that like the buses are basically like at the front they're flat, so the driver's sitting like right up against the windscreen, and so like you're sitting there and like, you know, they're basically all but driving up the bums of other buses, and I'm like grabbing hold of the railings and stuff, and Vaughn's like, relax, it's okay. I'm like, oh. And they brake so hard and like they drive like lunatics and have the smallest turning circles and like all these random things, but it's so cool. Like, better than any like taxi school that you would go to in Australia. Like, imagine what their double-decker driving school is like. So that's pretty cool. And the Oyster system, once the Victorian government gets its act together with my key, I can only hope that it's 50% as good as like what the Oyster system is. It's an amazing system and it just works so well from what I've noticed. I mean, I haven't heard anyone like carrying on about it, but it is just so easy. You just load your money on, touch in, touch out, buses, trains, like both types of trains. You know, I think even the ferries, there's some ferries getting around, will take Oyster. Like, it's just so easy. Never leave the house without it, seriously. What else? Oh, food. Oh my god. Read that as being bacon buddies and brown sauce. Okay. Ooh, sorry. Bacon buddies are basically like bacon sandwiches or bacon rolls. Not egg and bacon, which also reminds me of something else. But, like, we had some at a market the other morning. Like fresh baked roll with this amazing bacon and brown sauce. Brown sauce is like barbecue sauce, but it's got a little bit more of a tart flavour. Like barbecue sauce is a bit of a sweeter flavour, whereas brown sauce is almost Worcestershire in its flavour. That's the distinction that I would make. Amazing. Now, I would normally feel really bad about eating something like that, seeing as I'm trying to be good now with what I eat. But considering that with all my sightseeing, I'm walking an average of 5 to 10 Ks a day, I'm like, I think I could have this and easily walk it off by the time I get home. So I'm like, yay, bacon buddies! Just amazing. Which brings me to the other thing that I thought of, that Vaughn and I ate on the way home from Brighton Pride on the weekend, which was fun. Big gay parade in Brighton. They have like a pebble beach, which is interesting but uncomfortable. Give me a sand beach any day. Big parade, big street party. We managed to find the only straight party at Brighton Pride. But that was okay. We bailed soon after that. On the train home, we went into like a supermarket and Vaughan bought a Scotch egg. Scotch egg is basically like a boiled egg with like a crumbed boiled egg. Oh, so good. I was like, I'd had a few beverages, I'll admit, and having this Scotch egg with corn chips and dip on the train back to London from Brighton was like, oh no. I'm like, this Scotch egg is amazing. It was so good. So that was cool too. What else? What else did we do? We went to Greenwich on the weekend, which is where the Royal Observatory is, and like the old Maritime College, King Henry VIII's palace stuff is there. What else? The Maritime Museum. It's where Greenwich Median Time originates from. Actually, something really random I was told in Oxford is that Oxford is like 5 minutes behind Greenwich Median Time, so like their clocks deliberately run like 5 minutes slower than like what the time is. That was pretty cool. What else? Oh, we went on like this foot tunnel like underneath the Thames, like at Greenwich. Like basically it starts where Kavasaki is, which is like this ship that they're rebuilding, and like pops out. Where does it pop out? Hang on. Check my tube map. So handy. Island Gardens, and then we caught the DLR, which is one of the train lines, to where did we go? West India Quay, and went to the cinema. We went and watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which was okay. Anyway, yeah. So, and when we were at Greenwich, we had like these milkshakes that they made them with any kind of lolly that you can think of. Vaughan had one with what's it called? Bueno chocolate, which is the chocolate in Kinder Surprise. It was so good. I just had a flake one. I was a bit boring. And we also had like these roast beef rolls with this type of cheese. I can't remember how you pronounce it, but basically it's like a slab of cheese on like a hot plate, and they heat it so it melts, and then they get it and they just like, so it melts, and it's like the consistency of like soft butter, and they just get like this big knife and just like, and just get this massive slab of it and just like slathered it on this beef. Oh, yum yum. So amazing. So amazing. But like I said, I'm walking heaps, so, and I'm doing all my exercises and stuff, so I'm not going to come back like a blimp. Oh. And speaking of Scotland earlier, when it rains, it pours. In Scotland at least. I got there and had to buy wellies and a raincoat because it was pouring down rain. They're like, oh no, this is typical for August. And I'm like, well, I'd hate to know what it's like in winter then. Edinburgh Fringe was on, so like street acts and like stuff going on everywhere. I was only there for 2 days. It was nowhere near enough. I definitely need to go back and like, I think go back during like Fringe and Comedy Festival and stuff, and just dedicate my time to going to shows, and then going back another time and dedicating it solely to like sightseeing, because there was so much that I didn't get to see. Went to Edinburgh Castle and nearly got washed away. It was still pretty cool though. I saw the Scottish Crown Jewels. I actually went to the Tower of London today. Couldn't be fagged lining up to see the Royal, like England's Crown Jewels. I was just like, no. The line was like 200 people long. I'm like, don't need to see them that bad. Yeah, so much stuff in Edinburgh. Did this ghost tour that takes you into like, there's like vaults underneath the city. They were like built back in the day, and like they built them for the merchants to like store their stuff, but because it was like limestone and everything, and it rained so much in Edinburgh, like it totally just like leaked, and so they're like, oh well, we can't use them, and so they just like abandoned them. And then there were all these people coming to Scotland looking for work and stuff, and like they had to pay really high taxes to get into Edinburgh, and then because there was no work they couldn't pay taxes to get back out, which is what you had to do. And so there was all these homeless people in Edinburgh, and so they're like, what are we going to do? And they're like, okay, we'll let them live in the vaults. And so all these people living underground, and like these vaults are like the biggest one we went into was like 8 foot by 8 foot, and there would be like over 100 people living in this thing, like just putrid. You can just imagine it. Anyway, we're like going through these vaults, and there was all this other stuff that like the lady showed us, but I won't go into that. Anyway, she takes us into this last vault, and she separates the men and the women. And she's like, I do that because there's a poltergeist that lives in here, and he tends to attack women more on that side of the room, so that's why we put you on the opposite side. And everyone was like, oh, okay. And so she's like, yeah, this vault here, back in XYZ year, there was like a fire, and she said it was effectively the Great Fire of Edinburgh, and everyone's like, oh yeah. And she said, like, you know, the city was burning, and so everyone's like, where are we going to go? And so they all escaped into the vaults underneath the city, and they wanted to protect the women and children, and so they've put them all into this particular vault that we're in, and like the guys are like, we'll go elsewhere. And so there was like 96 women and children in this one vault, 8 foot by 8 foot. And so they put them all in there, and they've closed the door. It was a wooden door, effectively, because the fire was burning like above their heads. Like above their head, above your head is like the street. Like you're literally like under the street. The door swelled when they couldn't get out, and it took on the consistency of an oven, and so it was basically like it was sucking all of the air out of the vault, and it was cooking them. Like they were going to die, basically. They were burning. And so the women made the decision to sort of like, well, we're not going to die like this. So they had knives on them. So what they've done is they've slit their children's throats and wrists, and then did their own. And so, like, you know, the fire passed, the men realised, what, we can't get back into this vault. It took them 3 weeks after the fire to actually open these doors. So, like, even if they had have died, like, you know, it probably would have been a lost cause anyway. Anyway, they finally busted it open, and, like, it was apparently, like, you know, the bodies had started to, like, melt and break down, and it smelled of, like, the flesh and bleh. Anyway, you know, they're of the belief that the circumstances under which they died was sort of absorbed into the walls, like the evil spirits and everything, and that's why there's a poltergeist there. Anyway, at the start of the tour, she said, oh, we don't do gimmicks and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, okay. She's telling this story, and like she's at this point, everyone's just like, oh my god, oh my god. And then someone runs past the door of the vault, and so we've all just screamed. This random woman has like grabbed a hold of me, which just made me scream even more. And then she's like, so that's the end of the tour. Now if you head up these stairs into the pub, you can get your complimentary whiskey and shortbread. And everyone was like clawing their way out of this vault, like, gotta get up the stairs, gotta have my whiskey and shortbread. Oh, it was so scary. I would highly recommend it though. Like, there's any number of ghost tours that you can do that take you through all that sort of stuff. So, like I said, still so much more that I want to do in Scotland. Definitely going back. Definitely going back. So yeah, like I said, off to Spain tomorrow. And then France, so probably won't do another video until after we get back from all that. So yeah, like I said, just wanted to check in. Hope everyone's well. Hope the weather's treating you nice. It's actually not too bad here. It's sort of raining a bit here at the moment, but you know, I can deal with that. Hey, if I've lived through 2 days of like Edinburgh downpour, I could live with the London shower. So yeah, cool. Well, I'm actually going to go pack my bags for Espanol. So, be good, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.